I really feel it's important that parents start at the very beginning of their child's career in middle school all the way through high school in order to be active and involved in their child's transition planning process. And oftentimes families know their child better than anyone else, and so families know the types of things that they can do. They know the types of strengths their child brings to the world. Families are a critical piece in the planning process.
The Bible that we received tonight, and it explains the various roles and responsibilities of the teachers versus DVR versus the parent and guardian and the long-term care and the ADRC and their roles in what you can expect from the various groups, or what you should expect and what you can question and things like that. I'll use it as a guide that will help me better help my son.
I'm a vocational rehabilitation counselor, so I work with individuals with various types of disabilities and helping them obtain, maintain, or advance in employment. Individuals with disabilities in general are a growing part of our population, and I think that there's a lot of legislation that is recognizing them as an important contributor to our society. When individuals are growing, they are moving from an entitlement system to an eligibility-based system, and I think it's important that they have some awareness of how to navigate that. So one thing that I would tell everyone to do as they're looking at employment is to really consider the individual's strengths and interests and look at how that can fit into the community. And so there is a place for everyone. And I think it's really important to be able to work with their strengths and their abilities and find it. And sometimes it might mean carving out a position. Sometimes it might be they fit into an already given description. But really working with someone, being that advocate, encouraging, don't give up. There's a place for you.
I have a daughter that's getting ready to go into the world, and I want to be sure that I know what's out here available, especially with her having autism, what's available to help her succeed and lead a productive life.
He's 15, going on 16. He's an individual with autism, and I was interested in learning more about Department of Voc Rehab Services and what they might offer him to smooth the transition into employment. So not only did I learn tonight things from the presenter, but also just listening to other parents and what they had to say. So there were specific nuggets of information about DVR, but the bigger sort of take home for me is that it's, again, really nice to have a place to come to meet other parents, to not feel like I'm navigating this all on my own.
Guardianship's an important topic for Trails. We see a lot of individuals that are under guardianship in Wisconsin, and nationwide the numbers have increased throughout the years. So it does affect a lot of people under guardianship. So it's just important to understand the process and what legal rights are at stake for the individual that would have a guardian.
I feel like I'm a little more clearer on what every option is and what we need to do to make that decision as a family. So before, it was really overwhelming when you'd go on websites and the government websites. There was literally hundreds of pages of information, and this was very concise and clear. So
here at our behalf of our 20-year-old, our 16-year-old, and our 13, gonna be 13 next month. Every time I go to any of the programs that are offered through the Autism Society, or that I hear from them, it never ceases to amaze me how much I can learn.
And I'm here today as a parent of 3 boys with autism. Transition is such an extremely difficult time for us parents, and I want to share what I have learned along my journey so far. Not quite as far as a lot of other of our panelists, so I'll be trying to get some tips too, but sharing what I have learned so far.
I have a son, Alexander. He's 27. While I wouldn't consider myself a pioneer, we certainly have a lot of what I would consider lessons learned through his transition into adulthood. And so anytime we have the opportunity to share some of that, we're happy to do so. Your child is approaching 18. Just awareness to two things. One, make sure you're not looking just at 19 and 20 and be thinking, 4 and 6 and 8 and 10 and 20 years down the road, and don't just focus on the today. I think that advice would serve people very well. A. B, I think a lot of the resources that you become accustomed to the extent you have, they truly go away, and the world does change when your child reaches adulthood. And so all the information you can gather, prepare for that day, will help you ease into his or her adulthood.
The one thing that I would want any family considering post-secondary education to think about is a lot of times they push back at the cost involved. And the truth is, a lot of the programs don't have financial aid programs and scholarships and grants because the student is not working towards perhaps a bachelor's degree. A lot of times they're just auditing courses or taking courses that aren't leading to something on a piece of paper they're going to see at the end. But the paper's not the important part. The money invested is so beneficial because it creates skills in the student that they didn't have before. So where I see a lot of families just really balk at the cost, it really is worthwhile. When Colin went to the first program in Minnesota that he participated in, people there, I heard the parents saying this was like a miracle. I saw this change in my child and I listened, but with skeptical eyes. I thought a miracle, but truly after 2 years, Colin became more of a social being by being away from the home and being out on his own and navigating on his own. So every dollar we invested was money well spent. So that's one thing I would tell families, because I think they think, what am I truly getting out of this money that I'm investing? And what you're getting is an independent adult. So it's worthwhile.
I stayed 2 extra years because I didn't feel like I was ready to move out to go to a different school at the time. So I stayed 2 extra years in high school. And then I found out that we were going to an open house at a school in Madison. So we went to the school, we met the people, and we got a tour of the campus and saw the dorms. When I was in Minnesota, we lived in an apartment that had a downstairs and an upstairs. And when I went out the first time, I felt like I wasn't going to know where I was, but I knew where I was, and I had to know some bus routes. And I had to look up an itinerary to know what time I'm going to get to the destination. I'm glad I went to college to get like a certificate and have my own work experiences. Best thing about going to college was being independent.